Hi, my name is Shannon Pileggi, and my 2021 Women in Statistics and Data Science Conference poster presentation is Be Great and Curate, Tips and Outcomes from a We Are Our Ladies Twitter curator. A rotating curator is a Twitter account that features a new curator for each week. Currently, there are 2 rotating curator accounts relevant to our field. First, the We Are Our Ladies account is specific to those who program in R. And second, the Women in Stat account is specific to the statistics and data science community. The links on these curator accounts take you to the admin sites for these accounts to learn more. I curated for the We Are Our Ladies account in February of this year, and it was a great experience. I hope I can convince you to consider it as well. The purpose of these 2 curator accounts is to encourage and maintain Twitter engagement within the Our Ladies or Women in Statistics and Data Science communities, and to spotlight female and minority genders in any location and any experience level. That's right, any experience level. Regardless of if you've been in this field for 6 months or 20 years, you have a valuable perspective to share. Now, I can imagine there are 2 things holding you back from considering a rotating curator position, which might be imposter syndrome and discomfort with Twitter. This was certainly true for me as well, but you can do this. Regarding imposter syndrome, this links to a great post by Caitlin Hudon about imposter syndrome in data science, including why it is prevalent and how to deal with it through accepting that you will never know everything in this field, but that you do likely know something that others do not. Regarding Twitter, it took me a while to get comfortable with Twitter as well, and even longer to get comfortable enough to volunteer to be a curator. If you click on that link, you'll find a book by Oscar Barufa and Verl Van Soen released in January of this year called Twitter for R Programmers, which walks you through everything you need to know, including basics like what are hashtags and what are threads. I really wish I had this book when I got started with Twitter. I think one way to get comfortable with Twitter is to force yourself to tweet, which being a rotating curator is great for. Once you decide to curate, you'll have to find things to tweet about. One strategy you can use is to just think about tweets you like. What kind of content was it? How was it presented? Why did you like it? And once you figure that out, try to emulate it yourself. I thank other rotating curators and Twitter users that put out amazing content that inspires me every day. Regarding the content ideas, of course, there are a wide variety of things you can tweet about, including but not limited to projects, passions, polls, code, tutorial, favorite or new methods, packages, resources, conference talks, things you had to overcome to be successful, questions that others ask you, and your own questions. And besides just the ideas of the content, you might think about styling your content. I mean, in its most basic form, a tweet is just plain text, possibly with some emojis. But you can share a broad range of content, including GIFs, images, memes, code, and flyers. For my curating week, I wanted to share both code GIFs and a couple of formatted slide layouts. I didn't have my own colors or fonts to use, nor did I feel like investing time in creating my own style. So I relied heavily on the Our Lady Style Guide, and that already had colors, fonts, and example layouts readily available. When you are creating content, please keep in mind accessibility for members of our community that use assistive technology to read digital content. For example, by including descriptions on images or sharing code in accessible formats like GitHub GIFs. Finally, for tips and outcomes. Tips. When curating, be kind to yourself when you select a week. Be sure that it isn't your busiest time of the year. I selected a date in February when I knew I would be calming down from a busy Q4 and when we had a holiday. You can additionally consider selecting a date during a time frame that is meaningful to you. For example, Black History Month in February or Universal Human Rights Month in December. I also recommend drafting tweets in advance. They don't have to be perfectly written out, but I do think having some content ideas ready to go will make the week smoother and be more productive in terms of engaging the community. I strongly recommend practicing with TweetDeck in advance. TweetDeck is a platform that you can use from your personal Twitter account, and it is also the platform you will have to use as a rotating curator. It is a very different interface compared to the standard Twitter interface, so familiarizing yourself with this platform before the day of your curation starts will make your first day go so much smoother. I certainly wish I had opened TweetDeck before my first day. Outcomes. Lastly, what are you going to get out of this? Why should you invest this time in something that is possibly outside of your comfort zone? Here are the outcomes that I experienced, and I hope they hold true for you too. First of all, knowledge. Whether I asked a direct question or someone volunteered something on one of my threads, I learned a lot of new things that were directly related to my interests. Next, connections. I engaged with many new people during my Twitter curation that I still engage with today, whether that is publicly on Twitter or more privately in chats. I also created new collaborations. This was both in advance of my curation week to get feedback on prepared content and after my curation week when I connected with others with my shared interests. Forcing myself to tweet multiple times a day also increased my confidence as a Twitter user. I learned that it is okay if a tweet doesn't get many likes or retweets and to just keep going and tweeting because eventually something will stick that might help me, help others, or just be fun. And finally, we have community. It is very gratifying to contribute to the community by serving as a rotating curator. And after curating, I think you will find you have a better sense of belonging in the community as well. Thank you for making it to the end of this poster presentation. If you want more specific details on my curation week, you can check out my blog post linked here about curating for We Are Ladies on Twitter. And for details about Our Lady Styled Code Gifts, I have a blog post for that as well called Our Lady Styled Code Gifts with Sherigan and Flip Gar. I hope to see you as a rotating curator soon.